This effort is called the Ecumenical Accompaniment Program in Palestine and Israel, or EAPPI. The World Council of Churches started the program in 2002. Since then, it's sent some 1,800 volunteers to the West Bank to witness what it calls life under occupation. These volunteers then head home to tell churches, congregations, and others about it. Those presentations often take a very negative and even anti-Semitic tone.
It has got nothing to do with it. It is mainly a political warfare. It is mainly driven by the Zionists. It is a Zionist ideology to try and drive every Palestinian out of that land to create a Jewish state.
The WCC denounces anti-Semitism as a sin against God, and spokesperson Peter Prove tells CBN News that the program is all about human rights.
The ultimate purposes of the program are to address human rights violations, impacts upon human dignity, and to promote, on the positive side, a just peace for both peoples.
A report by the NGO Monitor, however, paints a different picture of these so-called training camps.
And that is the main tool for training anti-Israel activists within church organizations and churches around the world. And it's also the main tool for inserting anti-Israel and anti-Zionist propaganda and rhetoric into those same churches.
According to Prove, the volunteers take part in everyday life with the Palestinians.
They're there to provide a protective presence. Secondly, they're there to observe, monitor, and report on events that they observe.
Jonas Schiffmiller said, NGO Monitor found there's more to the story.
In fact, what EAPPI is really doing is coming here, gaining credibility for themselves to go back to their home churches and to spread anti-Israel diatribes.
Yosef Daher is coordinator of the Jerusalem Center that hosts the volunteers. He explains how they view Jesus' command to love your enemies.
We look at the Israelis, of course, back home as our enemy. And we see that our enemy is in a sin against God and against humanity. And in order to show our love, if you love someone, you would love him to be free of his sin. So this is where we connected love with resistance.
Resistance usually refers to terrorism, but Daher said as Christians they only promote boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, or BDS. In response to the report, the WCC said it only promotes boycotting goods from Israeli settlements. That's not Daher's view.
Our call for sanctions is targeted at Israel.
The WCC recognizes Israel's right to exist according to international law, but doesn't connect it to the Bible. Dr. Robert Smith works with the volunteers and explained it earlier.
The biblical narrative of Israel has almost nothing to do with contemporary Israel other than the intentional manipulation of sacred text to justify a political project. The Global Kairos movement declared that any Christian theology that supports Zionism is heresy.
David Parsons is vice president of the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem. He described the 2009 Kairos Palestine Declaration as misguided.
For someone to brand Christian Zionism heresy, this is troubling ground because Jesus himself affirmed the restoration of Israel in Matthew 19. The Apostle Peter does it in Acts chapter 3, and Paul does it in Romans chapter 11. So these were all affirming a belief in biblical Zionism, the belief that the Jews would be restored to the land. So are you calling Jesus himself a heretic?
Funding for the volunteer training program comes from the World Council of Churches as well as European governments. NGO Monitor would like those countries to reevaluate that support and the WCC to recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.